We're here with Ben Miller, known from, for many people, probably from Destroy All Monsters. Lately, apparently, you've been working with the Sensorium Saxophone Orchestra.
It's something I've formed this year.
Okay, and obviously, like the bio says, it's a 15-member ensemble.
Yeah, 2 drummers and 12 horn players, and I compose and conduct, or try to conduct.
Yeah. And are you guys gigging out much, or is this more of a recording project?
Well, I've been composing this symphony, and it's based on a interval method that I've been working on for about 10 years. It's kind of came to fruition last year, so yes, I'm hoping to finish this and do a New York debut maybe maybe in December.
Clay, is there any problem? Everything seems okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And do me a favor, pan on me for a second, just because I'm like, you know, whatever. Got to be seen with this guy. Okay. All right. You were mentioning that coming up as a kid, you were going to some of the rock shows like MC5, Stooges, so you were pretty familiar with what was going on in your backyard in Ann Arbor and Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, I was interested in music at a very early age, so by the time the psych rock movement was a big thing for me at 13, 14, and MC5, even the Grateful Dead, came down to this West Park, which was this park about a half a mile from where I lived. I didn't see Grateful Dead, but I saw MC5 quite a bit. A lot of notorious Ann Arbor, Detroit proto-punk, whatever you want to call it.
What else was big that was going on that America might have missed out on, like Scott Richardson?
Scott Richardson.
The Pagans.
The Pagans?
The Pagans, huh?
That was later.
I think that was later.
That was 77, 78. But
yeah,
like, was there anything going on that has not become legend that should have?
Yeah, SRC, early SRC.
Okay.
I mean, they were kind of mocked for being too not kind of frail. I mean, they weren't powerful, and they were very sort of hippie lyrics and second, but they're very real good. SRC had a big influence on me as a kid.
Now, what was the saxophone your first instrument? Has that pretty much been what you've been doing for your life musically, or?
Well, I started when I was in 5th grade, and then in junior high school. I played throughout junior high school and then quit, and I was getting into the drug thing and getting into rock. I picked up guitar.
Rock, drugs, same thing.
Yeah, rock, just sex, fucking in the streets.
Yeah. Now, Sprunton Lair, this was your first band?
Well, it was a band with my brother Roger and Larry and trumpeter Harold Kirchen, who was brother of one of the Kirchens
like Bill Kirchen?
Yeah, Bill Kirchen.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was the first real band I was in. But what was the question?
I don't know. Let's talk about, so real quick, just to touch on Destroy All Monsters, you guys obviously, by the time you joined the band, was moving in a more punkier type mode.
What happened was 2 of Destroy All Monsters, Mike Kelly and Jim Shaw, went to LA to do art and film, I think. And Carrie and Niagara stayed in Ann Arbor, and they would hang out at our this band that I was in with my twin brother Lawrence, who formed this band called M Pool, which is a very much like what I did tonight. Very electronic improvisation using stereo tape, pre-recorded tape, found sound and stuff. And somehow the 2 ideas mixed and became the first incarnation of Destroy All Monsters before Ron Ashton or Michael Davis came in. And so it was a lot of creative intention to it, and it wasn't. When Ron and Michael came in, it seemed to kind of like congeal and become a real band.
Right.
But it also became more of like a Motor City punk kind of sound.
Now, had those guys not joined, would you guys have gone off in the more experimental angle? Because wasn't that what they were doing before you guys met up with them?
Yeah.
Did you see them ever before that? Or
I saw them once.
And was that like a pretty fun, revelatory performance, or was it you were just like, whatever? I mean,
well,
sometimes you end up in a band with some people and you see what they've done before, you're like, and then you join and you're like, oh, this works. How was that? Like, you saw them, and what did you leave with?
It was kind of entertaining. You know, Mike and Jim would play drums and Echoplex guitar, and Kerry would try to get the band to play a song, and Niagara would drift in and off stage playing the violin, I think. It was very anti-music. It wasn't. It was very different from what I was doing with M. Pool, which is, I mean, we have kind of a music background.
Yeah.
Where, you know, we can compose notated material and whatnot. So it was a very different school, which was interesting when we formed because it was that kind of.
Now, nowadays with the solo performance, obviously you got your gear down pat. You see like Casios and realistic gear. I mean, is there anything that you're really married to using these days I mean, it seems like it's a lot of antiquated equipment, or do you ever check out what's going on with new stuff, or you're pretty married to some of the older stuff that you've known and worked with over the years?
Yeah, I'm pretty old school. I like stereo cassette loops and
Reel-to-reel machines.
Reel-to-reel machines. I've done very little computer stuff. I mean, the two musicians tonight that were amazing, they're talking about software. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and they do amazing stuff with it, but I don't think I have the brain to do it, you know.
You're a product of your time.
Yeah, I'm a product.
And as far as the solo thing, as far as just the sax playing, do you play with other people these days?
I have
just contributing sax, or?
No, I have a quartet that I formed last year with some folks in New York called the Push Pull Quartet. We just released a CDR on Tiger Asylum Records. It's kind of Dolphy Braxton based kind of my composition, but there's a lot of improvisation, and the band is the musicians I play with are really, really good.
Cool. So I guess we'll wrap things up. We've covered a fair amount of ground. I'd like you to give out any relevant websites that people can check out, your MySpace or anything else you want people to know about.
Yeah, okay. For this recent saxophone and electronics, it's MySpace/Benjamin Rush Miller. For my prepared electric guitar, which I call Ben Miller. Well, that's MySpace/Ben Miller Degeneration, which is what I usually do when I do solo. And then I have a rock band called Third Border. That's MySpace/Third Border. And the Push Pull Quartet is, what do you know, MySpace/Push Pull Quartet. And I forget what the Sensorium Saxophone Orchestra is. It's some numbers. I typed in something to create it, and MySpace was freaking out and just threw in some numbers, so I don't remember what it was.
Google it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's a wrap. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, man.